You're about to step into a video exploring the darkest corners of human history where science and madness collide. We're talking about experiments that turned people into lab rats, urban legends that sound like horror movies, but are rooted in truth and stories that'll make you question just how far humanity is willing to go in the name of progress. Take a deep breath, because what's coming creepy is just the beginning. Number 1. The Donner Party's dinner plans. Imagine this: you're on a road trip with your friends, but instead of running out of gas or snacks, you get stranded in the middle of a snowstorm for 4 months. Oh, and the only food left is, well, your traveling companions. That's the Donner Party in 1846. A group of pioneers set out for California and made the fatal mistake of taking a shortcut through the Sierra Nevada. Spoiler, it wasn't shorter. Trapped by heavy snow, out of supplies, and freezing, they eventually resorted to eating the dead to survive. Out of 87 people, only 48 made it. Some claimed they held out without touching human flesh, while others admitted they did what had to be done. It became one of America's most infamous survival stories, a chilling reminder that desperation can turn even the most wholesome family road trip into something straight out of a horror film. Number 2. Sawney Bean's Family Buffet. Now let's jump across the Atlantic to Scotland in the 16th century, where we meet Alexander Sawney Bean. According to legend, he and his wife raised a family of 40 plus in a coastal cave, off the grid, off the books, and off the menu of polite society. How'd they survive? By ambushing travelers, robbing them, and hauling their bodies back home for dinner. Over 2 decades, they allegedly devoured more than 1,000 people. The story ends with the entire Bean clan being captured and executed without trial. Historians debate whether Sawney Bean was real or a cautionary tale spun to scare travelers. But let's be honest, either way, the image of a cannibal family picnic is burned into your brain now. You're welcome. Number 3, the tragedy of Uruguayan air flight, 571, fast forward to 1972. A plane carrying a Uruguayan rugby team crashes in the Andes. Survivors face freezing temperatures, avalanches, and no food. For 72 days, they held out. But with rescue nowhere in sight and starvation setting in, they made an unthinkable choice, eating the bodies of their friends and teammates. When rescuers finally arrived, 16 people had survived, thanks to the ultimate taboo. Years later, survivors openly discussed their decision, saying it wasn't about savagery, but survival. So next time your flight runs out of pretzels, remember, it could be worse. Number 4, the chilling tale of Alfred Packer. Meet Alfred Packer, gold prospector, self-proclaimed mountain man, and accidental cannibal. In 1874, Packer and 5 other men were trapped in the Colorado Rockies by a brutal winter. Weeks later, Packer stumbled out alone, suspiciously well-fed for a guy who'd been snowbound. When pressed, he admitted his group resorted to eating the dead to survive, but locals suspected he hadn't waited for them to die. He was eventually convicted of manslaughter after a witness claimed Packer murdered his companions for food. Fun fact, the judge allegedly told him, "There were 7 Democrats in this county, and you ate 5 of them." True or not, Packer became Colorado's most infamous man-eater. Today, there's a cafeteria at the University of Colorado named after him. Yes, really. Number 5. The Siege of Leningrad. During the Boyasker, Nazi forces surrounded Leningrad, now St. Petersburg, for nearly 900 days. Starvation hit so hard that citizens ate anything: wallpaper paste, leather belts, even their pets. But some went further. In the depths of the siege, there were reports of cannibalism in the city. Authorities cracked down, even forming an anti-cannibalism police unit. Over 2,000 people were arrested for it. It's a haunting example of how hunger can strip away every social norm, and how even in a modern city, the line between civilization and chaos can vanish overnight. Number 6. The Caribou Inuit Famine. Cannibalism. In the late 1800s, explorer Frederick Schwatka documented stories from Caribou Inuit elders about famine so severe that families turned on each other. One account describes a mother killing her child for food, only to be killed in turn by other starving survivors. While some anthropologists debate the details, it's a stark reminder that nature's brutality doesn't care about morality. In extreme cold, with no animals to hunt and no plants to forage, survival sometimes meant crossing humanity's ultimate line. Number 7. The Andaman Island Cannibals. Welcome to North Sentinel Island, where uninvited guests don't just get a dirty look, they risk becoming dinner. While not proven with modern evidence, British colonial records from the 19th century claim that some isolated tribes in the Andaman Islands practiced ritual cannibalism against intruders. One chilling account involved a group of shipwrecked sailors who went missing after being captured. Skeptics say this was British propaganda to paint indigenous people as savages, but the islanders are still fiercely protective of their territory today. Lesson: if your GPS ever says recalculating near North Sentinel, turn the boat around. Number 8. The real Hannibal Lecter, Issei Sagawa. In 1981, Issei Sagawa, a Japanese student in Paris, killed and ate his Dutch classmate, René Hartvelt. He was caught mid-act arrested and declared legally insane in France. But here's the disturbing twist: after being deported to Japan, he was released because of a legal loophole. Sagawa became a minor celebrity, giving interviews about his crime and even writing books. He lived as a free man for decades, openly discussing his fantasies until his death in 2022. It's one of those real-life stories that feels too grotesque for fiction and makes Hannibal Lecter look almost polite. Number 9. Jamestown's starving time. The Jamestown colony in 1609 faced one of the harshest winters ever recorded. Food was so scarce that settlers reportedly ate dogs, cats, rats, and leather boots. Archaeologists later found evidence that at least one 14-year-old girl dubbed Jane had been cannibalized. Cut marks on her skull suggested desperate butchery. For centuries, the colony's leaders avoided discussing it, but the bones don't lie. America's first permanent English settlement wasn't just built on hard work, it was also built on survival at any cost. Number 10. The Creepy Case of Omaima. Nelson, Thanksgiving, 1991. Omaima Nelson, an Egyptian model living in California, murdered her husband and allegedly cooked parts of his body. When police searched her apartment, they found his remains in the freezer, fried in oil and even seasoned. Omaima claimed she acted in self-defense after years of abuse, but her bizarre handling of the body left even seasoned investigators speechless. She was convicted of second-degree murder, but the cannibalism rumors linger to this day. Moral of the story: never assume Thanksgiving leftovers are just turkey. Number 11. The famine of Ukraine. Holodomor. In 1932 and 33, millions of Ukrainians starved during the Holodomor, a man-made famine caused by Soviet policies. As desperation set in, reports emerged of families resorting to cannibalism, parents consuming their dead children, neighbors preying on the weak. Soviet authorities knew about it, but criminalized even talking about it. To this day, it remains one of history's darkest, most horrifying chapters, proof that starvation can turn even tight-knit communities into horror movie scenarios. Number 12. The real-life Wendigo cases. In Algonquian folklore, the Wendigo is a monster born from cannibalism. Once you eat human flesh, you're cursed to crave it forever. But in 19th century Canada, cases of Wendigo psychosis were documented. One Cree man, Swift Runner, murdered and ate his family during a harsh winter in 1878, claiming an evil spirit compelled him. He was later executed, but locals swore they'd seen signs of Wendigo possession. Whether you believe in monsters or not, the idea of a hunger so consuming it warps your soul, that's horror at its finest. Number 13. The chilling story of Armin Mayways. This one isn't a survival story, it's something much, much darker. In 2001, Armin Mayways, a man from Germany, posted an online ad looking for a volunteer to be eaten. And shockingly, someone replied. Bernd Brandes, the volunteer, traveled to Mayways' home, where the two carried out the unthinkable. Afterward, Mayways filmed himself butchering and consuming Brandes over several months. When the story broke, it horrified the world, not just for the act itself, but because it was consensual. Mayways was arrested and sentenced to life in prison. Today, he's still referred to as the Rottenberg cannibal. His case raises disturbing questions about consent morality and just how far human darkness can go. Number 14. The Russian sleep experiment. Allegedly, imagine scientists locking people in a room pumping in experimental gas to keep them awake for 15 days straight. At first, the subjects chat and joke. Then paranoia sets in. They stop talking, then stop eating, then start mutilating themselves. Their skin-shredded organs exposed, and yet they're still alive, begging to stay awake because sleep would kill them. Chills right. But here's the twist: this infamous experiment likely never happened. It's a creepypasta, a fictional story that went viral. But it's so plausible, so disturbing, it's become modern folklore. Because let's face it, history already gave us enough real experiments that sound just as horrifying. Looking at you, MK Ultra. Number 15. Project Sunshine. Sounds cheerful, right? Like a NASA plan to grow daisies on Mars. Nope. This was a US government study in the 1950s, and it involved stealing body parts. The goal to measure how radioactive fallout from nuclear tests affected human tissue. The method scientists secretly collected bones and organs, often from deceased infants and young children without family consent. When the truth came out decades later, people were horrified to learn their loved ones' remains had been used in secret experiments. It's the kind of revelation that proves real life doesn't need horror. Writers, bureaucrats with clipboards are scary enough. Yeah, real life is way creepier than any horror movie. Want more? Hit subscribe, I've got darker stories waiting.